In March 2020, Westchester County, New York, became the setting for a series of events that would unravel decades of carefully guarded secrets. Marlo Lane, a 28-year-old African-American woman working as an editor at Richardson Publishing House, received an unexpected notification from Brightman and Associates law firm regarding a substantial inheritance. Marlo occupied a modest apartment in Yonkers, earning an annual salary of $45,000 while managing substantial student loan debt from Cornell University. Her daily routine consisted of commuting to the publishing house's offices in White Plains, where she specialized in editing non-fiction manuscripts. Despite her academic achievements and growing career, financial constraints had always limited her options. The inheritance notification concerned her grandmother, Evelyn Crowley, who passed away at age 76 from a cardiac arrest in early March 2020. Evelyn resided in Scarsdale's affluent neighborhood, maintaining minimal contact with family members throughout her later years. Her Victorian mansion on Heritage Drive stood as a testament to her wealth, though local residents rarely saw her beyond occasional appearances at community functions. Attorney Jeffrey Brightman, managing partner at Brightman and Associates, had overseen Evelyn Crowley's legal affairs since 1989. During the formal reading of the will at their Maple Street offices, Brightman revealed that Evelyn had designated Marlo as the primary beneficiary of her estate. This decision bypassed several closer family members, including Marlo's mother, Catherine Lane, and Evelyn's son from her second marriage, Robert Crowley. The inheritance comprised $900,000 in liquid assets, with all applicable taxes processed and paid. Additional items included personal documentation spanning from 1968 to 2020, a sealed personal letter, and a safe deposit box key from Westchester Central Bank. Financial records revealed Evelyn's wealth accumulation began in 1968 through various investment ventures, including real estate holdings across New York State and business investments throughout the Eastern Seaboard. Evelyn's letter to Marlo contained carefully chosen words that would later prove prophetic. The handwritten message warned that the inheritance represented more than monetary value, emphasizing that certain aspects of the past should remain undisturbed for safety reasons. This cryptic warning initially seemed at odds with the straightforward nature of the inheritance. In the days following the will reading, Brightman and Associates documented multiple inquiries from various law firms representing undisclosed clients. A black Chevrolet Suburban with tinted windows appeared in surveillance footage from the law office parking lot, coinciding with Marlo's appointment. The vehicle's presence marked the beginning of a pattern that would become significant in subsequent investigations. The inheritance claim process initiated through Brightman and Associates required extensive documentation and verification. During this period, Marlo continued her editorial work while managing the sudden influx of administrative responsibilities related to her grandmother's estate. She contacted Westchester Central Bank to arrange access to the safe deposit box, though bank policies required a waiting period for security verification. Marlo's mother, Catherine Lane, expressed surprise at Evelyn's decision. Historical family records showed that Catherine and Evelyn had severed communication in 1992 following undisclosed disagreements. Catherine's attempts to reconnect with her mother in 2015 proved unsuccessful, making Evelyn's choice of Marlo as beneficiary particularly unexpected. Local law enforcement records would later establish March 2020 as a crucial timeline marker in the investigation of the Crowley family's activities. The substantial inheritance sparked a chain of events that would expose long-buried connections between prominent Westchester County figures and reveal the true nature of Evelyn Crowley's business enterprises. The initial phase of Marlo Lane's inheritance proceedings concluded in April 2020, when the full sum of $900,000 transferred to her designated accounts at Westchester Central Bank. Within 2 weeks of the transfer, anonymous communications began arriving through various channels, marking the beginning of a disturbing pattern that would persist throughout the spring of 2020. The first message arrived in Marlo's mailbox at her Yonkers apartment, containing newspaper clippings from 1968 regarding business acquisitions in Lower Manhattan. The articles mentioned Sebastian Holdings, a company registered to Howard Crowley, Evelyn's first husband. Handwritten notes in red ink across the margins questioned the legitimacy of these transactions. The envelope bore no return address but displayed a Manhattan postmark, Subsequent messages arrived through Marlowe's work email at Richardson Publishing House. Digital forensics would later trace these communications to various public libraries across Westchester County. The emails contained fragments of financial documents suggesting irregular movement of funds through offshore accounts during the 1970s, coinciding with Evelyn Crowley's early investment period. Investigation of Evelyn's background revealed significant gaps in public records between 1968 and 1972. During this period, Howard Crowley disappeared under mysterious circumstances, though no missing persons report was ever filed. Evelyn married Robert Crowley Sr. in 1973, marking her entry into Westchester's social circles. The marriage lasted until 1989, ending in a sealed divorce settlement. Local newspaper archives from the Westchester Herald contained scattered references to Evelyn Crowley's social appearances throughout the 1980s. She maintained connections with several prominent business figures, including Marcus Whitman, later convicted of securities fraud in 1992. Police records indicated that Evelyn provided testimony in the Whitman case, though transcripts remained sealed under court order. May 2020 brought intensified anonymous communications. A manila envelope delivered to Marlowe's apartment contained photographs from 1975 showing Evelyn in the company of known associates of the Castellano crime family. The accompanying note stated simply, "The money has other claims." Forensic analysis of the envelope revealed partial fingerprints that matched no existing criminal database records. Marlowe's research into her grandmother's past uncovered a pattern of strategic property acquisitions throughout New York State. Between 1975 and 1985, Evelyn purchased multiple commercial properties through shell companies, each transaction occurring shortly before major development announcements increased property values significantly. These investments formed the foundation of her wealth, though the source of initial capital remained unclear. The safe deposit box at Westchester Central Bank yielded additional mysteries. Documents inside detailed a complex network of business relationships extending across 3 decades. Among these papers, Marlowe discovered references to Project Amaranth, a development initiative from 1968 that never materialized in public records. Bank statements from this period showed substantial cash transfers to numbered accounts in Zurich. Former associates of Evelyn Crowley proved reluctant to discuss past business dealings. Margaret Sullivan, Evelyn's personal secretary from 1978 to 1982, provided limited information during a recorded interview, suggesting that Evelyn maintained separate books for certain transactions and insisted on handling sensitive correspondence personally. Sullivan resigned her position abruptly, relocating to Arizona shortly afterward. By June 2020, the anonymous messages evolved to include more recent photographs of Marlowe herself, taken without her knowledge at various locations around Westchester County. These images demonstrated that unknown parties maintained active surveillance of her movements, though security cameras in these areas failed to identify the photographers. Review of Evelyn's personal correspondence from the 1990s revealed ongoing communications with Howard Crowley's former business partners long after his disappearance. These letters, written in carefully coded language, suggested continued financial obligations stemming from events in 1968. The last such communication dated from 2018, containing only the phrase, "Final settlement pending confirmation." Marlowe's attempts to access additional family records met with systematic obstruction. Files relating to Howard Crowley's business activities remained sealed under expired court orders, while other documents vanished from county archives under unexplained circumstances. Each investigative thread led back to 1968, suggesting pivotal events that year shaped the subsequent decades of Evelyn Crowley's life. The surveillance of Marlowe Lane intensified throughout July 2020, transforming from distant observation to direct intimidation. Security footage from her apartment building at Riverdale Avenue documented multiple unauthorized access attempts. Unidentified individuals appeared at varying intervals, attempting to gain entry through service entrances and emergency exits. Building security logs recorded the first significant breach attempt on July 12, 2020. An individual presenting false maintenance credentials attempted to access Marlowe's floor. The subject departed before police arrival, leaving behind a maintenance uniform traced to a defunct cleaning service. DNA analysis of the uniform yielded no matches in law enforcement databases. Marlowe documented 17 distinct surveillance incidents between July and August 2020. Black vehicles matching the description of those seen outside Brightman and Associates appeared near her workplace in White Plains. Cellular phone analysis revealed consistent signal interference patterns during her daily commute, suggesting sophisticated tracking equipment in operation. The Richardson Publishing House Security Office reported multiple inquiries from individuals claiming to represent various agencies seeking Marlowe's personal information. These attempts employed sophisticated social engineering techniques, using accurate details about Marlowe's background to establish credibility. Investigation revealed all provided credentials were fabricated. Anonymous threats escalated from implied to explicit in August 2020. Marlowe received a series of handwritten notes delivered directly to her desk at work, bypassing building security. The messages contained specific details about her daily routine and references to Evelyn Crowley's activities in 1968. Handwriting analysis suggested multiple authors, all employing deliberately altered writing styles. The situation prompted Marlowe to contact Rory Hayes, a criminal defense attorney who had maintained connections with the Crowley family since the 1980s. Hayes served as junior counsel during Evelyn's divorce proceedings in 1989 and remained peripherally involved in family legal matters. The initial meeting occurred at Hayes's Manhattan office under enhanced security protocols. Hayes's investigation files contained substantial documentation regarding Evelyn Crowley's business activities. Records indicated regular payments from offshore accounts to various security services between 1968 and 2019. These arrangements terminated immediately following Evelyn's death, suggesting deliberate protection protocols rather than standard security measures. During their consultation, Hayes revealed concerning information about Evelyn's past associations. The attorney disclosed patterns of systematic harassment directed at individuals who investigated certain aspects of the Crowley family history. Multiple private investigators abandoned inquiries into the 1968 events after experiencing similar intimidation tactics. Hayes strongly advised Marlowe to surrender the inheritance through legal channels, suggesting specific procedures to transfer the assets to charitable foundations. His recommendations included immediate relocation and cessation of all research into family history. The attorney's demeanor during this conversation demonstrated notable anxiety, particularly when discussing events from 1968. Subsequent background research revealed Hayes's own connections to historical events. His law firm handled multiple property transactions for Evelyn Crowley during the 1980s, including several deals connected to Project Amaranth. Financial records showed substantial legal fees paid through the same Zurich accounts referenced in Evelyn's documents. The situation escalated further when Marlowe's apartment underwent a professional break-in during her absence. The perpetrators disabled security systems and conducted a methodical search, focusing on areas containing documentation from the safe deposit box. Building surveillance systems experienced targeted electrical disruptions during the incident, suggesting trained operators with specialized equipment. Forensic examination of Marlowe's apartment revealed sophisticated surveillance devices installed during the break-in. Technical analysis identified the equipment as military-grade hardware, unavailable through commercial channels. The devices transmitted encrypted data through secure frequencies typically reserved for government operations. By September 2020, Marlowe's daily routine incorporated extensive security measures. She employed counter-surveillance techniques learned through urgent consultation with private security specialists. These procedures revealed multiple surveillance teams operating in coordinated patterns, suggesting professional organization rather than individual actors. Hayes's final communication arrived through secured channels, warning of increased activity among unnamed interested parties. The attorney subsequently departed for an unannounced vacation, leaving his practice in temporary suspension. His office staff received no forwarding information or expected return date. October 2020 marked the emergence of key figures connected to Evelyn Crowley's financial empire. Investigation records identified 3 primary persons of interest with direct links to both the inheritance and historical events dating back to 1968. Caleb Lane, Marlowe's cousin through her mother's second marriage, maintained a documented history of criminal activity spanning 15 years. Police records detailed multiple arrests for fraud and gambling violations between 2005 and 2020. Financial investigation revealed outstanding debts exceeding $450,000 to various illegal gambling operations throughout New York State. Surveillance footage placed him near Marlowe's apartment on multiple occasions during September 2020. Lane's connection to organized crime emerged through detailed background checks. He worked as an intermediary for several known gambling syndicates operating in Manhattan's underground betting circuits. His most recent arrest in March 2020 coincided with Evelyn Crowley's death. Though he secured release through unexplained intervention from high-priced legal representation. Clementina Kovach occupied the residence adjacent to Evelyn Crowley's Scarsdale mansion for 23 years. Immigration records showed her arrival from Croatia in 1997, with documentation supported by corporate sponsorship through one of Evelyn's shell companies. Kovach maintained no visible means of employment, yet lived in one of Westchester's most expensive neighborhoods. Investigation into Kovach's background revealed extensive connections to European financial institutions implicated in money laundering operations during the 1990s. She served as director for multiple corporations linked to Project Amaranth, though her name disappeared from public records between 2000 and 2015. Former neighbors reported frequent late-night meetings between Kovach and Evelyn Crowley, often involving visitors arriving in diplomatic vehicles. Weston Ford emerged as the most significant figure among the suspects. His position as senior partner at Marshall & Sterling Financial Services connected directly to Evelyn's wealth management operations. Ford oversaw the complex network of offshore accounts and shell corporations established during the crucial period of 1968 to 1972. His signature appeared on numerous documents related to Project Amaranth. Financial analysis revealed systematic fund transfers orchestrated by Ford between various Crowley family accounts and unknown recipients. These transactions, typically ranging from $50,000 to $250,000, occurred regularly from 1985 through 2020. Each transfer employed sophisticated masking techniques to obscure both origin and destination points. Digital surveillance captured evidence of coordination among these individuals following Marlowe's inheritance. Cell phone records indicated multiple conversations between Ford and Caleb Lane during critical periods of surveillance activity. Kovach's residence served as a meeting point for unidentified individuals matching descriptions of surveillance team members. Background investigations connected all three suspects to historical events surrounding Howard Crowley's disappearance. Ford managed account transfers immediately preceding Howard's last known appearance. Lane's father worked as security personnel for Howard's business operations. Kovach maintained connections to European locations, matching Howard's rumored destination points. Marshall & Sterling's internal documents revealed Ford's direct involvement in creating the inheritance structure. His department processed unusual transaction volumes in the months preceding Evelyn's death, suggesting preparation for significant asset movements. Security cameras recorded late-night meetings between Ford and unknown parties in the firm's parking facility. Caleb Lane's gambling debts underwent sudden reorganization in September 2020. Financial tracking showed systematic debt consolidation through offshore entities matching patterns used in Evelyn's historical transactions. This restructuring coincided with increased surveillance activity around Marlowe's residence. Kovach initiated regular contact with Marlowe through seemingly casual neighborhood encounters. These interactions followed patterns suggesting coordinated information gathering rather than genuine social interest. Security analysts noted consistent data transmission spikes from Kovach's residence following each contact. The convergence of these individuals created an elaborate web of surveillance and intimidation. Each suspect maintained separate motivations while contributing to the overall pressure campaign against Marlowe. Their coordinated activities suggested access to substantial resources and professional expertise. By November 2020, the situation evolved beyond simple inheritance dispute into complex conspiracy. The three primary suspects represented visible elements of a larger organization, operating through multiple layers of corporate and legal protection. Their combined activities demonstrated sophisticated coordination and clear strategic objectives. On December 12, 2020, maintenance workers discovered Caleb Lane's body in an abandoned Victorian mansion at 1247 Greystone Road, Westchester County. The structure, scheduled for demolition, belonged to a development corporation linked to Evelyn Crowley's early real estate acquisitions. Initial police reports classified the death as accidental, citing a fall from the main staircase. Westchester County Medical Examiner Dr. Sarah Chen conducted the preliminary examination. The autopsy revealed multiple impact trauma consistent with a fall from height, including compound fractures and severe internal injuries. Toxicology reports indicated trace amounts of prescription anti-anxiety medication in Lane's system, supporting the accident theory. Crime scene investigation revealed anomalies that contradicted the straightforward accident narrative. Detective Michael Ramirez documented unexpected details during the initial sweep. Boot prints in the accumulated dust showed multiple individuals had accessed the property within 48 hours of Lane's death. Technical analysis identified professional-grade cleaning compounds on specific surfaces near the incident site. Security footage from neighboring properties captured partial views of vehicle activity during the critical period. A black SUV matching previous surveillance vehicles appeared in multiple frames between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. on December 11th. The vehicle's license plates employed sophisticated reflection technology that prevented clear identification. Marlo Lane received notification of her cousin's death through official channels. Her subsequent statement to investigators included details of recent interactions with Caleb. She reported a confrontation outside her workplace where Caleb appeared agitated, demanding information about specific documents from Evelyn's safe deposit box. Building security cameras malfunctioned during this encounter. Forensic analysis of Lane's mobile phone revealed encrypted communications with multiple parties in the days preceding his death. The last outgoing message, sent at 10:47 p.m. on December 11th, contained coordinates matching the Greystone Road location. Digital forensics identified sophisticated deletion patterns, suggesting remote data wiping after time of death. Investigation of the property unveiled connections to Project Amaranth. Historical records showed the mansion served as meeting location for Howard Crowley's business associates during 1968. Building permits indicated recent unauthorized access to sealed sections of the basement level, with evidence of document destruction in a partially burned filing cabinet. Detective Ramirez's follow-up investigation identified inconsistencies in witness statements. The maintenance workers who discovered the body provided conflicting accounts of their presence at the property. Employment records revealed both individuals worked for subsidiaries of Marshall and Sterling Financial Services. Marlo documented increasing security concerns following Lane's death. Professional security assessment identified sophisticated surveillance equipment installed in her vehicle, workplace, and residence. Counter-surveillance measures detected multiple monitoring teams operating in coordinated patterns throughout Westchester County. Dr. Chen's detailed autopsy findings included anomalies inconsistent with accidental death. Bruise patterns suggested defensive wounds. Microscopic fiber analysis identified material matching specialized tactical gear. The medical examiner filed an amended report requesting reclassification of the case as suspicious death. Lane's personal effects, recovered from the scene, included a key matching Evelyn Crowley's safe deposit box system. Investigation revealed unauthorized access attempts at Westchester Central Bank matching the time of Lane's last known movements. Bank security protocols triggered silent alarms during this period. Financial investigation uncovered rapid movement of Lane's gambling debts following his death. Unknown parties systematically cleared his obligations through offshore accounts bearing signatures of Project Amaranth operations. These transactions mirrored patterns identified in Evelyn Crowley's historical financial activities. Marlo implemented enhanced security protocols following consultation with private security specialists. Threat assessment indicated professional surveillance operations continuing despite Lane's death. Security experts identified methodologies consistent with corporate espionage and professional intelligence gathering. Detective Ramirez's investigation faced institutional resistance. Search warrant requests for Marshall and Sterling records encountered legal barriers. Key witnesses became unavailable for follow-up interviews. Surveillance footage from critical locations suffered unexpected degradation or deletion. The pattern of events surrounding Lane's death demonstrated hallmarks of professional operation rather than opportunistic violence. Each investigative thread connected to broader conspiracy elements surrounding the Crowley inheritance. Evidence suggested Lane's death served specific strategic objectives within larger organizational goals. By January 2021, Marlo's inheritance transformed into clear liability. Detective Leslie Raines assumed control of the expanded investigation in February 2021. merging the Lane death inquiry with broader examination of Evelyn Crowley's financial empire. The Financial Crimes Unit's preliminary analysis revealed sophisticated money laundering operations dating back to 1965, preceding Howard Crowley's disappearance. The investigation uncovered Evelyn's strategic relationship with European criminal syndicates during the 1970s. Documentation recovered from Marshall and Sterling archives detailed her role in managing illegal proceeds through Project Amaranth's corporate structure. Wire transfers connected offshore accounts to known criminal enterprises operating throughout Western Europe. Clementina Kovac's role emerged as central to these operations. Immigration records revealed her previous identity as Maria Kovacevic, a financial specialist connected to Balkan criminal organizations. Her arrival in 1997 coincided with Evelyn's expansion into Eastern European markets following the collapse of communist regimes. Detective Raines's investigation identified Weston Ford's function as primary architect of Evelyn's financial concealment systems. His expertise in international banking enabled creation of elaborate networks designed to obscure criminal connections. Each layer of corporate structure incorporated sophisticated legal protections against regulatory examination. Historical surveillance records documented regular meetings between Evelyn and known criminal figures at her Scarsdale estate. Security footage from 1985 to 2019 showed patterns of late-night gatherings involving recognized organized crime leaders. These meetings coincided with significant financial movements through Marshall and Sterling accounts. Caleb Lane's connection to Evelyn extended beyond family ties. Financial records revealed his role in managing relationships with contemporary criminal enterprises. His gambling debts served as cover for regular interactions with organized crime figures seeking access to Evelyn's money laundering infrastructure. Investigation of the Greystone Road mansion revealed document fragments indicating Evelyn's early criminal associations. Partially destroyed records from 1968 detailed her assumption of Howard's criminal connections following his disappearance. The evidence suggested strategic expansion rather than reluctant inheritance of these relationships. Detective Raines documented systematic interference with investigative efforts. Key witnesses received warnings through various channels. Critical evidence disappeared from secure storage. Surveillance teams reported professional counter-surveillance measures protecting multiple locations connected to the investigation. Analysis of Evelyn's personal correspondence revealed complex relationships with all three primary suspects. Letters recovered from private storage detailed decades of collaboration in various criminal enterprises. Each relationship incorporated elements of mutual dependence and carefully maintained leverage. Marlowe's research into family history acquired new significance as criminal connections emerged. Seemingly innocent childhood memories revealed subtle patterns of criminal operation. Family gatherings served as cover for criminal consultations. Holiday celebrations masked meetings with international criminal figures. By March 2021, Detective Raines assembled comprehensive documentation of Evelyn's criminal empire. The evidence demonstrated decades of systematic criminal activity concealed behind legitimate business operations. Each layer of investigation revealed additional complexity in her organizational structure. The arrest of Weston Ford occurred on April 15, 2021, following coordinated raids by federal and state law enforcement. SWAT teams secured multiple locations, including his Manhattan penthouse, Marshall and Sterling offices, and 3 private storage facilities. The operation recovered extensive documentation of criminal activities spanning 5 decades. New York District Attorney's Office filed comprehensive charges including first-degree murder in Caleb Lane's death, multiple counts of financial fraud, evidence tampering, criminal conspiracy, money laundering, obstruction of justice. The pretrial hearings at Manhattan Criminal Court revealed the scope of Ford's criminal enterprise. Prosecutors presented evidence connecting him directly to 15 suspicious deaths between 1975 and 2020. Each casualty linked to attempts at exposing Evelyn Crowley's criminal operations. Assistant District Attorney Elena Rodriguez built the prosecution's case through systematic presentation of recovered documents. Evidence demonstrated Ford's central role in managing both legitimate and criminal aspects of the Crowley empire. His signature appeared on authorization documents for surveillance operations targeting multiple victims, including Caleb Lane. The trial began June 7, 2021, generating unprecedented media coverage. Security at the courthouse required enhanced protocols following multiple threats against witnesses. Television cameras documented daily proceedings as Ford's empire unraveled in public view. Key testimony came from former Marshall and Sterling employees, who detailed Ford's methodical approach to eliminating threats. Internal memos revealed his direct orders regarding surveillance and intimidation operations. Email records documented his approval of escalating measures against potential whistleblowers. Forensic accountants presented analysis of financial records showing systematic criminal activity. Documentation revealed Ford's creation of elaborate money laundering structures designed to process criminal proceeds through legitimate business operations. The evidence demonstrated his expertise in concealing illegal transactions within apparent legitimate financial activity. The prosecution's case culminated with evidence directly linking Ford to Caleb Lane's murder. Surveillance footage, recovered despite sophisticated deletion attempts, showed Ford's private security team at Greystone Road during critical hours. Cell phone records confirmed his presence in the vicinity during the incident. Ford's defense strategy collapsed when former associates chose cooperation with prosecutors. Multiple witnesses testified regarding his role in managing Evelyn's criminal legacy. Each testimony reinforced his position as architect of both financial and enforcement operations. The jury returned guilty verdicts on all counts after 3 days of deliberation. Ford's conviction represented the largest successful prosecution of white-collar crime in New York State history. The judgment included multiple life sentences without possibility of parole. Ford's transfer to Rikers Island occurred under heavy security on September 30, 2021. His arrival marked transition from wealthy financial executive to high-profile inmate. Prison authorities implemented special security protocols due to his extensive criminal connections. Marlowe attended key portions of the trial, observing the systematic exposure of her grandmother's criminal legacy. Each revelation provided new context for childhood memories and family relationships. The proceedings transformed her understanding of wealth's true cost. The investigation's conclusion left Marlowe with complex decisions regarding inherited assets. Detection of criminal connections within specific investments required careful evaluation. Each element of the inheritance carried potential legal and ethical implications. Department of Justice officials initiated extensive asset forfeiture proceedings. The process required Marlowe's cooperation in identifying legally obtained versus criminal proceeds. This distinction proved challenging given decades of commingled funds. By December 2021, Marlowe implemented comprehensive restructuring of inherited assets. The process prioritized ethical investment and charitable distribution of funds. Each decision reflected careful consideration of historical context and future implications.